Ladies and gentlemen, you never begged for a seat. You built your own table, and that's where the problem began. See, most people are trained from the start to wait their turn, to ask nicely, to hope someone up high notices them and maybe tosses them a shot. But not you. You looked around and realized no one was coming. No one was going to save you. So you got up. You got tired of knocking on doors that never opened. You got tired of shrinking yourself just to fit into a room that never really saw you. So you decided you didn't need their invitation. You didn't need their rules. You'd make your own. That kind of mindset, that kind of boldness, it scares them. Because the moment you decided to create rather than wait, you exposed every excuse they ever clung to. You proved you could rise without their approval. You proved that power doesn't come from permission. It comes from purpose. While they were busy playing politics and pleasing the crowd, you were out there laying bricks, one grind at a time. You turned rejection into blueprint. You turned closed doors into wood for the fire, and they hate that, because now you sit at a table that wasn't gifted, wasn't granted, wasn't inherited, it was earned. And what makes it worse for them, you didn't compromise to get there. You didn't sell out, play small, or fake a smile to blend in. You showed up as yourself, all real, unapologetic. You spoke when silence was expected. You rose when staying low would have been safer. You didn't just sit at that table, you redefined what the table meant. It's not just a place to eat, it's a place to lead. It's a place to build others up, not break them down. And that's why the hate runs deep. Because people don't like seeing what's possible when someone like you stops waiting. It forces them to question their own chains. It shines a light on their own fear. And they hate the reflection. They see the nights you stayed up working while they slept on dreams. They see the moments you failed and still chose to show up again. They saw you take L after L and never let it turn to bitterness. You stayed focused, you stayed building, and now that the table is finished, they see it. They see how strong it is, how steady, how undeniable, and it eats them alive. Not because you hurt them, but because you didn't need them. You respected them, but you didn't rely on them. You watched them doubt you, and still you kept hammering, kept carving, kept visioning. Now they sit in the shadows, confused how someone they counted out became the blueprint. They whisper behind closed doors, trying to figure out the secret, but the truth is, it wasn't magic. It wasn't luck. It was work. It was grit. You didn't follow the script. They hate that you wrote your own. See, the world hands everyone a manual. From the day you're born, they start whispering it to you. Walk this way, talk like this, dress like that. Dream only so big, smile when you're told, and never step too far outside the lines. Most people take that script and hold onto it like it's the gospel. They read it, memorize it, live it. They think safety lives inside those pages. They think acceptance means obedience, but not you. You looked at that script and saw something off. You saw that the lines were written to keep people comfortable, not free. You saw that every word was designed to make sure you never truly saw your own power. So you made a choice. You closed the book, stepped off the stage, and started creating your own role. That's where the shift happened. Because when you write your own script, you become the author of your own identity. And that kind of power, it doesn't sit well with people who need you to stay predictable. They hate the fact that you don't react like they expect. They can't place you in a category. They don't know how to control someone who isn't waiting for applause. You stop chasing their validation, and that makes them nervous. Because now, when you walk in a room, you don't shrink. You don't ask for directions. You bring your own compass, your own mission, and that mission doesn't align with their version of success. You don't follow their timeline. You don't wear the masks they offer. You show up real. You show up loud. You show up like you were never meant to ask for space, but to take it. Every line you wrote in your new script told the truth they avoid. You made choices that scared them, not because they were reckless, but because they were free. You walked paths they wouldn't dare look at. You took risks they only dream about. You chose honesty over popularity, growth over comfort, purpose over approval. And each time you did, you turned their scripted world upside down. You made them realize that all the boxes they checked might not mean they've actually lived. You forced them to see the difference between surviving and living. And the moment you did that, The moment you showed them the possibility of an unwritten life, that's when the resistance came. That's when the hate showed up. Because your light exposed their shadows, your courage made their compliance feel small. You didn't attack them, you just evolved. You didn't insult their path, you just chose your own. But in doing so, you threatened the system they rely on. You reminded them that comfort is not the same as peace, that obedience is not the same as purpose. You proved that being true to yourself is more powerful than any role they could ever offer you. They see your scars, but you still walk like a king, and that threatens their comfort. They know what you've been through. Maybe they watched it happen. Maybe they even caused some of the pain. But here you are, still standing, still breathing, still walking tall with your head high and your presence louder than any of their whispers. That's what bothers them, because you weren't supposed to recover, you weren't supposed to rise. The weight was supposed to break you. The trauma was supposed to silence you. The loss, the rejection, the betrayal. It was all supposed to make you small. But instead, it made you sharper, stronger, wiser. They see the limp in your step, but they can't deny the fire in your eyes. You never hid your wounds. You never pretended to be untouched by life. You embraced the pain and turned it into power. And now, when you walk into rooms, you don't come looking for sympathy. You come with presence. That presence speaks before you do. It tells the story of survival. It tells the story of someone who knows darkness but refused to stay in it. And that truth, that presence, it shakes people because it reminds them of everything they haven't faced, everything they've run from, everything they tried to bury. People are fine with success stories as long as they come wrapped in perfection. They love a polished version of strength, but real strength. The kind forged in suffering, tested by storms, and carried with quiet dignity. That kind unsettles them because it can't be faked. It can't be bought. It can't be controlled. You didn't need a savior. You became your own. You didn't wait for someone to rescue you from the pit. You clawed your way out, and when they expected you to come out broken, you came out crowned. Not flashy, not arrogant, just certain. And that certainty makes them uncomfortable. They see you and realize you're not trying to impress anyone. You're not trying to fit in. You're not hiding your journey. And in doing that, you become a mirror, a reflection of what's possible if someone stops hiding their pain and starts walking in their truth. You wear your scars like armor, not shame, and they can't handle that. Because they've been taught to hide their struggles, to deny their emotions, to play a role. You live in your truth, and that truth makes their performance feel hollow. You didn't wait to be healed to move forward. You moved while you bled. You grew while you grieved. You led while you limped. That kind of resilience doesn't come from books. It doesn't come from comfort. It comes from being forged in fire. And now, every step you take reminds them that they chose safety while you chose survival. That they hid while you healed, that they surrendered while you stood, and they can't ignore that anymore because the proof is in your posture, the royalty in your resilience, the quiet power in your pain. Your silence speaks louder than their noise, and they can't drown you out. In a world addicted to attention, where people scream just to be seen, your stillness is a threat. You don't need to clap back. You don't need to explain yourself. You don't need to prove a thing, and that unnerves them, because most people depend on noise to feel relevant. They chase applause, demand validation, and confuse volume with value. But you move different. You speak when it's time. You act when it matters. You don't waste energy trying to convince people who already made up their minds. That's power, quiet power, and it scares them. They throw words at you hoping for a reaction. They test your patience, hoping to see you crack. They throw dirt on your name, expecting you to roll in it. But you stay calm, you stay focused. You let your work speak, let your energy speak, let your silence speak. And that silence, it echoes, it makes more noise than any rumor ever could, because it tells the world that you're not built on noise, you're built on knowing. You know who you are, you know what you carry. You know where you're going, and you don't need to explain that to anyone. That kind of presence messes with people, because when they can't read you, they can't control you. When they can't shake you, they can't define you. You become untouchable, not because you're perfect, but because you're grounded. Your silence is not weakness, it's strategy, it's maturity, it's strength. In a time when everyone's rushing to be first, you're mastering the art of patience. In a time when everyone's talking, you're listening, watching, building. That kind of discipline can't be taught, it's earned. And you earned it through storms they didn't even see. They think silence means you're not aware. They think you don't hear what's said behind your back. But the truth is, you hear it all. You just don't respond. Because every minute spent defending your name is a minute you could be using to elevate it. You're not in the business of reacting. You're in the business of rising. You don't chase clout, you chase peace. You don't seek revenge, you seek growth. That's why they hate you. Because no matter how loud they get, they can't pull you off center. They can't make you fold. They can't shake the foundation you built in silence. Every move you make in quiet, they feel it in noise. Every time you level up without warning, it rattles their comfort. Because they can't predict you, they can't label you, they can't stop a force that isn't loud but relentless. You're not flashy, you're focused, and focus is louder than chaos. You learn that peace is power, that stillness is strategy, that composure is a language only a few understand, and they hate that they can't speak it. Because while they shout for attention, you command respect without saying a word.